Okay, so part 4, Chelik Dalid, Perek Zayin, chapter 7, which is Avodah Hazmanit, defined as periodic observances. Avodah is service, Zmanit, that which is time-based. Aleph, Avodah Hazmanit, this service that is time-based, Himashnik Chayavnu Bo Bizmanim Yuduim. That's things that we are obligated to do during specific known times. Upratam, and to list them, Shvitat HaShabbat, right? So that would be abstaining from doing what we call malach. We'll discuss that a little further on Shabbat. Ukedushato, there is the refraining from, and there is the infusion of the kedusha, of the holiness, through different acts that we do. Shvitat HaAsur, right? That's the 10th day of Tishrei, Yom Kippur. The Inuyav, and the different things that we abstain from on Yom Kippur. Shvitat HaYom Tov, the Shvita, the things that we abstain from on Yom Tov. Ukedushato, and the things that we do of that infuse it with its kedusha, its holiness. Cholo Shel Moed, right? Sukkot and Pesach have those intermediary days of the Chol HaMoed, the Chol, the mundane, the regular of the Moed, of the holiday. Hechametz, v'hamatzah, abstaining from not eating chametz, all right, not eating chametz, and matzah, eating matzah, bizmanam, during their time. Shofar, and hearing or blowing the shofar, bizmano, in its proper time. You know, it's always so sad, interesting, however you want to describe it, when people say, oh, you know, I wasn't able to hear the shofar, you know, on Rosh Hashanah, can I come tomorrow to hear it? You know, we could play the shofar, we could play the accordion, I could play some guitar also, right? But it's got to be bismano. That's when it is a mitzvah. Shofar bismano. Sukkah v'lulav bismanam. Sitting, living in the sukkah and shaking the lulav etrog hadasim aravot bismanam, in their proper times. Rosh Chodesh is another period of time, a meeting point in time. Chanukah, Upurim, and the rabbinic holidays that we still observe, because we'll see there were many different days, but it's those two which are set observance. Vata, and now Nivaer Inyanam. Now we will explain what these are, what this inyan, what this issue is. Inyan bet number 2. Inyan HaShabbat bichlalo. Shabbos in general, right? The general idea of Shabbos, who is Kinei Kvar Beyarnu. We already explained the mal above. She'inyan ha'olam hazen notain, she'yu dvarim bo chol v'lo kodesh. That the purpose of this world needs to be that there are things here that are chol, that are mundane, v'lo kodesh, and not sanctified, not holy. Right? And it's our job, hello Robin, and it's our job
sacred
to use the world with that kedusha. It's interesting, a question came up at a class a couple of weeks ago. The idea that Olam Haba, the world to come, is not mentioned at all explicitly in the written Torah. There are a number of hints that we have to it. We find when a person dies, it says that they were gathered to their predecessors, and that's before the burial. So we're not talking about the physical being buried in a family lot and being gathered to the predecessors, but there is a spiritual gathering to one's predecessors, but there's nothing explicit in the Torah. There is, the Rambam points out, there is the idea that a person does certain transgressions. There is karet, the soul gets cut off, right? Which then we understand if you don't do that, then the soul is not cut off. The soul is connected to its source. So we have that. However, the idea, one explanation that's given by the Maharal is that the Torah is giving us ways that we are meant to partner and to perfect. Olam haba, the world to come, is perfected. There's nothing that we contribute towards that. The Torah is telling us what to do in this world, in this stage of our existence, in order to infuse it with Kedusha, in order to perfect it. And the service to Hashem that we do here not only brings in spirituality, but that spirituality then brings in also blessing to the world, whether it's peace, whether it's prosperity, whatever it might be. So that is the task that is given to us, and that is to perfect this world. So the Torah is not about us going up to the heavens. It's about us bringing the heavens down here to us. And therefore, as he says over here, the world needs to have chol, a certain degree, a certain percentage of chol, of that which is mundane, regular, velo kodesh, and not kodesh, in order to give us makom, to give us place, to give us a role in the perfection. That's how we explain. One of the explanations when the pasuk says "Naaseh Adam," let us make man. What's the plural over there? Not the silliness that some suggest, but Naaseh Adam. Rashi gives his explanation. But others say, Naaseh Adam, Hashem says, let us make man. Who is us? You and Hashem, you partner in making the person that you are. And that has the effect over the world. And that is by infusing ourselves with Kedusha, by acting in a godly manner. And that is what a mitzvah is. A mitzvah is a physical act done by a physical person in the physical world that allows us to connect to the eternal, to connect to the spiritual, to connect to the godly. So there needs to be. Yes, Uzi.
There's other explanations in addition to what you just said, Rabbi.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when he said Naaseh, the question, as you said, is who was he talking to? I know. So maybe one thing is he said what he said to who, but maybe he was talking to the earth, and he's talking to the earth. He said, "Earth and I, let us make man our own image," and he did it.
Mm-hmm.
The earth was involved.
Nice.
Alternatively, he was talking to the animals. He's talking to the animals. Let us make man with our own image. And indeed, they created a man that is very, very much like an animal. We are just like animals, except for neshama. So,
Right.
so that's the other three reasons. But the Christians are saying he was talking to Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't know where they come up with this. I have no clue. But anyway, it's fine.
Yep. Okay. I always say just substitute the word Elvis. Right? Now, who was there in the furnace? It was
Elvis?
Who was the fourth person in the furnace along with Hanam Shav Azaria? It was Elvis, right? Right? I mean, one can pick any name, right? It could be right. Yeah. Anyhow, okay.
Rabbi, please remember, you are not me. I am me. Don't be like me.
But there also needed to be some kiddush, some sanctification, some holiness that was given into this amongst the creations. In order that the choshech, the darkness, would not overpower too much. V'hinei, shi'ara, it was measured, assessed by the Chachma Elyona, by this upper wisdom. It calls that all of this b'tachlit hadikduk, with the epitome of precision. Be'ezo madrigat tzarich shiachol, to what percent, to what degree should there be this chol, this mundane? Uve'ezo madriga hakidush hanosaf hazeh, and to what levels should there be this kedusha, this holiness that is being mixed in to this? V'higbila l'chol zeh, and he placed a gvul, a boundary for all this. Hagvulim, the boundaries ha'neotim that were appropriate. Bibchinat hakamut, in terms of the amount, v'ha'ichut, and the quality of it. Hamakom, the place where there's kedusha. V'hazaman, and the time where there is this holiness. V'chol havchanot sheyesh livchon b'nimtzaot, and all these other decisions and amounts that were set amongst that which is in creation. V'ulam, bivchinat hazman, as we're discussing now, when it comes to this realm of time, sidra inyan hayamim shel chol v'shel kodesh. So there was arranged days of chol, yemei chol, regular days, v'kodesh v'shel kodesh, and holidays, holy days. Uvimei kodesh atzmam, and amongst the holy days themselves, madregot, zo l'mala mezo. There are different levels, one above the other. Kefi hanaot, all according to what is proper, what is necessary, what is most appropriate. Vihine, sidra, the arrangement was, sherov hayamim yeh chol, the majority of the days are chol. V'lo yeh kodesh ela hashiur hamitzdarech. The amount of days that will be kodesh is the amount that is necessary. So again, this world is meant to be a mixture of chol and kodesh. The kodesh is so that we don't become just overwhelmed, deluged, swamped by all of the choshech, all of the darkness. But majority remains chol, giving us that opportunity of changing the chol into the kodesh, of elevating that chol. V'ulam, Gazra, the decree was, Shihayamim kulam mitgalgalim b'shiur mispar echad sheyesovev v'zman kulo b'sibuv. It will be cyclical, a cycle that we go through. So it'll be shi'ir mispar, a set amount within each cycle that we go through. V'hu mispar, and we'll begin with the first cycle, Hashiva Yamim, of 7 days of the week. V'zeh, ki hinei vam nivra mitziut kulo. It was within 7 days that the entire creation, all that exists, came about. V'nichlal kol havayato, and therefore every aspect, every part of the creation is nichlal, is included the mispar zeh, in this number, in this cycle of 7. The nimsa mispar zeh mashara'ui shikarei shiur shalem. Therefore, this number 7 is one that is properly termed as shiur shalem, as a complete shiur, a complete cycle. Kevan shekulu hutzrach lahavayat kol ha-mitziot, since all of those 7 days were needed in order to bring about all that which exists. So that is a complete full cycle. V'yoter mizeh, more than that, lo hutzruch klal, right? The 8 days a week might be a Beatles song, but it was not needed for the havayot over here. More than that was not needed. Ki kvar nigmar avo kol havaya. All of existence was completed within that cycle of 7 days. That makes it a complete cycle. Amnam, ye mispar ze mitgalgel v'holech, v'chozer b'sibuvav ad sof kol ha'sheshet ha'alafim. This cycle of 7 days will be mitgalgel v'holech, will constantly be going, 6 days Shabbat, 6 days Shabbat, throughout all of the 6,000 years, and he'll touch upon soon the idea of the 6,000 years. We're in the year 5783, and our tradition is, the Gemara tells us, that 6,000 years is how long this world will exist in its present state. Below, not only that, Elishiyamot kol olam kulo, the days of this world as we know it, Gam Heim Yishmeru Ashir Hazeh Bekamut Gadol. This will also
Yeah.
follow the same cycle of 6 and then 1, Bekamut Gadol. But instead of it being 6 and then 1 days, it'll be 6 and then 1,000 years, 6,000 years, and then a 7,000 years. V'hainu Sheshet Alafim, 6,000 years. The Elef Menucha, and 1,000 years of Menucha, of rest. We'll soon see what that means. V'achar kach titchadesh havaya, and afterwards the existence will be renewed. Lamitziyut, to an existence, beseder acher, and a completely different state than the world as we know it. Kafi gezerata chachma elyona, right, which is all according to the decree of God's highest wisdom. V'hinei kivna, and the idea is shesof hasibuv, the final leg of each cycle, yihiyeh tamid bakodesh, always the final leg, the final stand of that cycle is kodesh. The Nimsa, right, 6 days, and then Shabbat. 6,000 years, and then the Yom Shekulo Shabbat. And then that Menucha of the last 1,000 years, of the 7,000 years. So we're always heading our way, leading into that Kedusha. And actually, right, in Judaism, we don't have the words Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We have Yom Rishon L'Shabbat, the first day of the Shabbat of the week, or leading towards Shabbat. Yom Sheni L'Shabbat, second day. So each day is a countdown. Each day is bringing its kochot, it's bringing its essence, and then folds that into the completion, which is the Kodesh, which is the holy, which is the Shabbat. And this is a tremendous elevation for all of the days. 1 minute, Uzi, I'm with you. Even though the majority are chol, we have 6 days a week of chol, and then 1 day of Shabbat. And only 1/7 is the Kodesh, which is what's needed for this world, that we don't become overwhelmed with the choshech, the darkness. Amna mitzad acher, but another way of looking at it is, being that this chelik of kedusha, of holiness, this part is the end of the cycle. V'chitumo, and that is the lachto, means to sign, to seal. That is what seals off this cycle. Nimtza hasivuv kulo nitkan umitaleh. The entire cycle is rectified, is fixed, is umitaleh, and is elevated al yedei zeh, through this final component of the cycle. Ad shenimtzaim kol yemot ha'adam mitkadeshim, and through that, all the days of a person become mitkadshim, because they're all working towards that Shabbat of each week. Yes, Uzi?
I was only going to say that it is so curious that the Japanese, the Taiwanese, the Chinese, the Indians all count 1 week as 7 days, regardless of their religion, regardless of anything, which makes what the Ramchal is saying so true, you know, because why don't they count 1 week, Japanese, as like 15 days, and then they're going to have another 15 days? But they didn't. They did 7 days like we did, from what the Torah is telling us. Okay?
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is that this stuff makes me feel that we are the source for everything. And we should be proud of that and not be ashamed of it. And
Yeah.
some Jews are ashamed of it. They don't want to say, oh, we are more important than you are. No! We are more important than you are because we are the people of the book and you are not. So let us teach you what's right and what's wrong. And they hate it, these people, whether they're
Yeah.
Jews or not.
Look, and
I'm sorry about
I
that.
would say, I don't know, more important, but have a greater responsibility because of the position that we hold and the teachings that we have. That's how
Okay,
I
but
would.
fine, I
Yeah.
agree with you. But give me a little bit more respect than you do. I'm not saying I'm more important than you, but 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 I happen to be more special than you are. Okay? And don't tell me everybody is as special as everybody else.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not true. We
We
are
have to appreciate who we are and not undersell
and
or minimize ourselves. Yeah.
I'm not saying we are better. I'm not saying we are better than anybody else. But
Hmm.
we were chosen. We were chosen to receive the Torah. That doesn't mean that we are better. It only means that we were assigned a higher responsibility
Good
than any other
responsibility.
nation
Yeah.
out there. That's all.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that we are better. We would just have an assignment, and we have to stand up for that assignment and be
Yeah.
better than everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. We
And
have to make
some
sure
people out
we
there
assume
hate
that
that.
responsibility. Yeah. Yeah. And you see, it's interesting that the world holds Israel, holds Jews to a different standard, because to a certain degree they recognize that we are meant to be the standard bearers. And very often, I remember that during the time of the terrible financial misdoings of a certain individual, and plastered all over the place was the fact that he was Jewish. At the same time, there was someone else also, some governor, I forgot who it was, in Chicago, or I think it was Chicago, or whatever it was, who also had some very, very serious misdeeds. And you never knew what his religion was. That was not a factor. But when it came to this individual, this financial mogul, the fact that he was Jewish was mentioned numerous times throughout the article.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and and Rabbi, anytime there's a crime out there by an individual, we are praying that God, please make sure we are hoping
Let it
he
not be
wasn't
Goldberg or
Jewish.
Schwartz. Yeah.
He wasn't
Yeah.
Jewish, and because we feel that we must abide by a higher morality.
Yeah.
The Israeli army is sending notes to these people in Gaza and letting them know, listen, we are about to bomb your building. Please run away before we kill you. What army ever does that?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
Putin. Putin is not doing that in Ukraine.
Right. Right. And of course, they only do that when the building is either storing bombs or has a terrorist hold up in there. Yeah. Vihine zo matana gedola. This is a great gift. Shenatana Kodesh Baruch Hu Yisrael, that God, the Holy One, blessed be He, gave to the nation of Israel. Liot sheratza shiolo am kadosh. He wants that we should be to Him as a holy nation. V'lo nitana l'shara umot klal. And He did not give this Shabbat to the other nations at all. She'ein ha'ma'alah hazot ru'uya v'lo miyu'ada lahem. Because this was not, it's not fitting, and it was not miyuad, it was not set aside, it was not intended, designated lahem, for them. Gimel, 3, va'amnam kafi ha'ma'alah hazot, shemasigim Yisrael b'yom zeh. Now, because of this ma'alah hazot, this high, lofty spiritual level that is a masigim that we can grasp, that we can gain on this day, kain ra'ui sheyeh hitnahagam bo. So that also must be reflected in the way that we act, in our hitnahagut, in our behavior on that day. Ve'ulam hinei ha'esek ba'olam kvar be'arnu lamala shehu mima shemikasher ha'adam b'chamriyut. Right? We already explained above that all of the necessary dealings that we have with this world is mikasher ha'adam. It connects, it ties a person. Bechamriyut, with the physicality. Umashpil in yano, and it lowers us down. Umorido min ma'alav hayakar, and it brings us down from the level and that yakar and that unique specialness shaya ra'uilo, that we should, that is befitting. Umizet sarich, and is from all of this, albeit necessary, but all of this involvement, that's what we need. Sheyunutak b'Shabbat. We need to separate ourselves break ourselves off from that on Shabbat. Kevan shemit ale inyano mimashu b'chol, since its status is so much higher than that of a weekday. So we need to separate ourselves from all of those mundane dealings, earthly, material dealings, and to be machazik, hold ourselves, behave, act in a manner that is ra'ui, that is fitting to this malahazot, to this lofty day that presents itself every week. V'amnam linatek legamre min hagufaniyot v'isgo efshar. To cut ourselves off, to separate ourselves completely from the physicality and our dealings, that is not possible. Sha'al kol panim b'olam hazehu, right? No eat, don't drink, don't breathe, right? That's impossible. We are in this world and must exist in this world. The kishrei hagufaniyut alav, and the bodily, physical connections are an inherent part of us that must be worked with. Aval shiara chachma eliyona, but the divine wisdom measured, hamadrega, the degree, shera'ui, that we should properly yinatake, cut ourselves, sever the connection from the gufaniyot, from the physicality, v'hamadrega shetzarich she'yishaer ba, and the degree to which it must remain. And the degree that we need to sever, cut off the connection. Sivtalo, we're commanded, thou shalt separate. Vizhira, and we're warned, shelo yechdal milinatek. Do not stop from that severing. Make sure that you do properly sever yourself. And what are those? Those are all the malachot, the activities that are asur to do, prohibited on Shabbat. And the malacha is not avodah. Avodah is work, is strenuous work, right? If I go to my house and I carry my couch up the steps, down the steps, up the steps, down the steps for 8 hours straight, I haven't broken Shabbos. The light switch, with that I've broken Shabbos. It's not work. There's a lot more work in carrying a couch than hitting a light switch. I always say it'll be a lot less strenuous for me to get into my car and drive 4 minutes to get to shul than to walk the mile. I enjoy the walk, but it'll be a lot less strenuous. The malacha is the creative activity. And the way that Jews do, we don't just believe. We don't go onto a mountaintop and I believe. We do our belief. As physical beings, we need to bring our bodies into all that we do. That's Asher Kiddishanu b'mitzvotav, the blessing make before a mitzvah, that you've sanctified us with the mitzvot. When it is an action, we make the bracha Asher Kiddishanu b'mitzvotav, that you sanctified us with the mitzvot. When it's a mitzvah that's in our mind with our kavanah, we don't have a mitzvah that you commanded us to say the Shema, because that's a matter of kavanah. That you commanded us to pray, that is kavanah. When it comes to the physical acts, there it's kiddishanu, we become sanctified with the mitzvot. So the way we do our belief in God as a creator is just as God stopped molding the world and the creation came the seventh day, so too comes our Shabbat. The malacha is the creative activity, using our knowledge, our prowess, our technology to mold the world to our needs. And that's what turning on a light switch is. It's using our technology, our prowess to mold the world to our needs. We stopped doing that on Shabbat as Hashem stopped molding. And the exact level of remaining connected and that nituk and that separation, that severance, what is the exact line that needs to be drawn? That, of course, he explains, is the klal hamalachot. Those are all the malachot, kulan shenesru b'Shabbat, all those which are prohibited for us to do on Shabbat.
May I say something?
Please, Uzi.
Thank you, Rabbi. Because, the people out there who are mocking those Jews who are sitting in the bathroom and cutting up toilet paper one at a time, they don't understand
Or
anything.
buying a box of tissues also works. Yes.
I just wish they heard what you just said. I just wish they did. Because they are so stupid and uninformed. They are
Uninformed.
so uninformed,
Yeah.
and because oh, why do I have to not turn on my car? What has he heard? Anyway, that there's a difference between spirituality and physicality, and they don't understand that Judaism is the combination of spirituality and physicality to make things sacred. Because
Yeah.
if you're only physical, then there's no difference between us and the animals. And we want to be different than the animals. And the only thing that's different is spirituality. And
And
I'm
that's by
so
fair
upset.
kiddushan for mitzvotav, that we become sanctified
Well,
with
yeah,
those.
because Kiddishanu
Yeah.
means we should be separated. We are not
Yeah.
the same. We are not the
Yeah.
same. And people say, no, no, you are the same. A man is the same as a woman is the same as a man. Everybody is alike,
Except for Lola. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
and they
Yeah.
are
Yeah. Yeah.
so. And
Yep.
Rabbi, please, you are a nice guy. I am not as nice as you, but I believe these people are evil people. It's not that they're not smart. There's evil in them to think the way they do. For them to say it's okay, to me, it's evil. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Rabbi. I
They're
know
uninformed and therefore they're what they say is misguided. Yeah.
it's
Okay. So that's
misguided
all
because
on
they're
the.
evil. Wait, wait, wait. It's not misguided because they're stupid. They're not stupid, they're smart people. But I believe they're misguided because they are evil people.
And I believe
Please.
they're misguided because they're misinformed. So we could agree to disagree on that, Uzi.
Okay,
Okay.
fine. Okay, I'll let go.
Okay. So far that's talking about what's called the Sur Meirah, the things that we can't do on Shabbat, so as not to cloud, darken that special kedusha of that day. Umilvad mashanesar, Vidalid number 4. Besides all mashanesar, that which became asur, prohibited, shelo lifgom, so as to not pagam, damage, chip away, bichvod hakodesh hanishba, in the honor of the holiness that is there biyom zeh, as we mentioned, k'mo shezecharnu, or nitztavinu lechabed hakdusha azot hanishbaat. We're also commanded to do certain things, lichavei, to give honor, to give kavod, to give honor to that kedusha hazot, to show to welcome, to embrace, and to involve ourselves in that kedusha hazot hanishba'at, which becomes available to us. V'hu chalal, and that is the general category of oneg hashabat, the oneg, the enjoyment, uchvodo, and the kavod the honor that we give to Shabbat. Bivo'o, when it enters, ubitseto, and when it leaves, right? With the Torah in the Ten Commandments, in one time in Shemot, it says Zachor, and in Devarim, when it gives the Ten Commandments, the same Ten Commandments, there it says Shamor. One says Zachor, mention, remember the Shabbat Likacho. The other one says Shamor, guard the Shabbat Likacho. And as we sing in the Lechadodi Friday night, Shamor v'Zachor b'dibor echad hishmianu kelam yuchad. They were said simultaneously. There is this duality of the do and the don't, the things that we abstain from and the things that we do. So what are the Torah do's of Shabbat? So that is Zachor, to mention the Shabbat. Bivo'o, when it comes in, Uvitseto, and when it leaves. And that's the kiddush that we say at the Friday night meal. That is welcoming, mentioning the Shabbat as it comes in. And the Havdalah that we do at the end of Shabbat, that is escorting the Shabbat. When someone or something important comes, we acknowledge its arrival and we acknowledge its departure. So we have our kiddush and we have the Havdalah. Now, rabbinically, we have other things that also add to the Oneg Shabbat and the Kavod, right? Certainly the Shabbat candles and the Su'udot and the meals that we have, all of that, the Zemirot, the songs that we sing, all of that adds to this Kavod and Oneg of Shabbat. Usha'ar kol pratav, and all of its other details, kulam inyanim nosadim bichlalam, they're all concepts that are based al hayesod hazeh, on this foundation, shehu, which is lishmor et atzmeinu va'erech hara'ui lakdusha hanishbat lanu, to guard ourselves, to maintain ourselves within this realm of the kedusha that is emanating on this day. Ulechabed hamalazo, so to not do anything which will detract from it, and to do the things that will add lechabed, to honor hamalazot, this lofty level, uliyakra, and its value, lichvod inyana shuhu korva gdola ilav yitbarach udveikut gadol bo, right? And to give honor to this is a tremendous drawing close to God that we do, udveikut gadol ba, and having a tremendous dveikut. The davening is longer, the meals are spiritual, we say divrei Torah, words of Torah, we sing the Zmirot, ulichvod notna yitbarach, and to give honor to the one who gave it to us, blessed is he. Shenatan lanu matana gedola kazo, that he gave us such a great gift. And it's fascinating that you see in many secular, especially in our world today, people say, oh, it's so outdated, it's so old-fashioned, it's so unrelevant. It's almost, particularly in the world that we live today, which is so plugged in and so hectic, and you have everything beeping and chirping and tweeting and buzzing and vibrating, and every moment we're deluged. In the secular world, in the non-Jewish world, they speak about the importance of a Shabbat, of a Sabbath, of turning down of turning off the cell phones. Imagine having a meal, they say. Imagine having a meal with all the cell phones off. Wow. How can we exist? How can we exist? I won't know the latest thing that's going on. So I might know the latest thing that's going on, but I have no idea what's going on with the person sitting next to me and the person sitting across from me at the table. The whole world is starting to recognize this importance, this matana gedola kazo, this incredible gift that we have. Uprateha inyanim, and the details of all of these practices that we do on Shabbat, mechuvanim, they're all aligned. El prateha kedusha hazot, to the different aspects of this kedusha, of this holiness, ubechinotea, and all the different parts, components of that. Diracheha, its ways, v'todoteha, and all that results from it. K'fi ma shehem be'emet, according to what they truly are and what this day brings to us. Nice. Okay, so that is Shabbat. And next week we start to go through the different holidays along the way also.
Rabbi,